You're watching WHO TV 13 Des Moines, your 24-hour news source. And now, Scott Pope, Therese Thompson, Pat Paris with sports, and meteorologist Mike Burrish with tomorrow's forecast. This is Newscenter 13 at 10.
Another accident involving Des Moines teenagers overnight. This one left a 16-year-old boy dead and 2 teenage girls injured. Good evening, everyone. We'll have the latest on the accident in just a minute, but our top story tonight is the triumphant return home of the Desert Storm commander.
General Norman Schwarzkopf is back on the home front tonight. The man affectionately known as Stormin' Norman returned to MacDill Air Force Base in Florida today and into the waiting arms of his family. As the national anthem rang out, Schwarzkopf saluted the hundreds of flag-waving fans who gathered at the base, then greeted members of his family with a giant bear hug. Later, Schwarzkopf told Kuwait's ambassador to the U.S. that he is happy to report the emirate is at last free. Schwarzkopf set out to achieve that mission 239 days ago from a makeshift central command in Saudi Arabia, 7,000 miles away. Schwarzkopf asked the crowd to repeat its ecstatic welcome for the 300 servicemen who arrived after him at MacDill, and not to forget the thousands of U.S. troops still serving in the Gulf. Former Urbandale resident Lieutenant General Charles Horner was greeted by hundreds when he arrived at Shaw Air Force Base in Sumter, South Carolina this morning. Hundreds lined the airfield and cheered when the general stepped onto South Carolina soil. Horner is commander of the 9th Air Force and Central Air Force commander. President Bush and the nation's military leaders say Horner is a hero because his air strategy helped keep casualties in the Gulf War very low. Horner is a graduate of Urbandale High School.
U.S. military continue to help the Kurds, but for just how long? At least 30 U.S. military jeeps and troop carriers crossed into northern Iraq from Turkey today to help set up refugee camps. But U.S. relief efforts look to be temporary and will no doubt be turned over to the Red Cross or the United Nations.
I can't tell you how long it's going to go on, but I can tell you as far as the military operation and the military involvement by the United States, by Great Britain, by France, is going to be temporary. We have no desire to be there on a long-term, permanent basis.
Many Iraqi soldiers are reportedly helping U.S. Marines clear mines along the Turkish-Iraqi border, while other Iraqis call the Marines' involvement blatant interference. U.S., British, and French troops are working to build and protect camps inside Iraq to encourage up to 500,000 refugees to return back home. Concerned family members of the 3654th Maintenance Company met in Knoxville earlier today. Apparently some troops' homecomings have been causing some confusion for the families of that unit.
They were going to try and get it to where the guys and girls could come home every weekend. Is that so, or is that just rumor?
I don't want to...
Answers to questions like these were the main focus of a support group meeting for family members of the 3654th Maintenance Company. Seems there's been some confusion on just when the company will be returning home.
We understood that the guys would be coming home May 10th, and last Monday we started plans for them to come home, and this week we were told they won't be coming home.
General Warren Lawson says the National Guard may have jumped the gun a bit by assuming the company's duties were finished.
Anytime that you have troops deployed like that, the biggest question is, when are they coming home? Mm-hmm. And as perhaps you know, we haven't gotten any of our major units in the Iowa Guard back home yet.
This meeting hopefully relieved some of the anxieties about the returning troops. Family members say waiting for the final word on when their loved ones will be home has been an emotional roller coaster.
One minute you're high because they're coming home and you're happy, and then the next minute you're down in the gully again wondering what's going to happen, if they're coming home, if they're not coming home. Or basically it's hard on us, but it's hard on them not knowing. Just make a decision and stick with it instead of up and down all the time.
Now, General Lawson says an order came for the 3654th to report to Fort McCoy, Wisconsin for a follow-up mission. At this time, the unit is in the process of executing that mission.
A one-car accident early this morning claimed the life of a Des Moines teenager and left 2 others hospitalized. The car was eastbound on McKinley near Fleur Drive when the driver lost control. The car flipped and rolled several times before coming to rest near an airport service road. The driver, 16-year-old Tyson Howe, was thrown from the vehicle and died of head injuries. 16-year-old Kristen Carroll was injured. She was taken to Mercy Hospital, where she is listed in stable condition tonight. 15-year-old Michelle Gregory is in serious condition at Methodist Hospital. Police say the car was traveling at a high rate of speed, but the cause of the accident is still under investigation. Negotiators have apparently prevented a strike at the Des Moines Firestone plant and numerous other tire plants around the country. Negotiators for the United Rubber Workers and Bridgestone and Firestone reached a tentative agreement Saturday night. The contract proposal now goes on to the rank and file, which must give final approval before it goes into effect. Bargaining goals reportedly include a meaningful wage increase, maintenance of cost of living allowances, better pensions, and improved job security.
Hundreds of people turned out in downtown Des Moines tonight to protest violence against women. This is the 9th year for the Take Back the Night rally, and as Newscenter 13's Mary Mills tells us, the cry for help keeps getting louder each year.
We are here tonight to speak out against violence, to name our experiences, to grieve for our sisters and children who do not survive.
Over 500 people came to the State Historical Building to show their support to help women take back the night.
Well, a woman walking home is the target. She took the wrong street tonight.
The 2-hour rally included songs and dramatic readings.
Why must we live with the ultimate fear and most heinous crime and assault a woman must bear?
But for many here, the most powerful testimony came from the survivors themselves. Jane France told of sexual abuse at the hands of her therapist.
I went in search of help, and I encountered a psychosexual nightmare.
Statistics indicate that violence against women continues to increase. In 1989, there were nearly 6,000 cases of domestic violence reported here in Iowa and over 1,100 sexual assaults. In fact, they say every 3 minutes in this country, a woman is raped. A fact dramatized tonight by the periodic ringing of a chime. While organizers say the rally is intended to give victims hope, they acknowledge that if trends hold, violence against women will increase in 1991. At the State Historical Building, Mary Mills, Newscenter 13.
Energy-efficient light bulbs and a solar-powered birdhouse. They were just a few of the things on display at the second annual Earth Peace Day. The event drew hundreds of people, most anxious to learn new ways to help the environment. One tip, bringing your own shopping bag to the store as opposed to collecting paper and plastic ones.
Still ahead on Newscenter 13, new problems at home for Mikhail Gorbachev.
And for George Bush's right-hand man. More news coming up.
More trouble brewing tonight for Mikhail Gorbachev in Moscow. A group of hardline communists are petitioning the Soviet parliament for a special session to impose a state of emergency. The group also wants to use the session to express disapproval of the way Gorbachev has been handling that country's economic and social problems. Reformers say they will stage a general strike if a state of emergency is not declared. The White House and top administration officials are defending Chief of Staff John Sununu tonight from charges that he frequently uses military jets for personal travel. Over the weekend, the Washington Post said Sununu has flown more than 60 trips on government planes over the past 2 years, including family ski vacations, at a cost of over $500,000. Defense Secretary Dick Cheney says Sununu's means of travel is a matter of national security.
There's been a policy for some years now that 2 senior White House officials, the President's Chief of Staff and the National Security Advisor, should always travel on government aircraft. That's primarily because of the communications requirement that they have to continue to be able to maintain contact with the White House and the rest of us in the government.
The Post says neither the White House nor Sununu's office would comment on whether Sununu has reimbursed the government for the personal travel.
In New York today, a family gathering turns tragic. A house fire in Bronx, New York, killed 5 people today. 2 others were injured and 6 more escaped unharmed in the blaze, which apparently started after a family gathering. Fire investigators say the cause of the fire was most likely accidental. The house was home to an extended family of Vietnamese immigrants. The Red Cross plans to find temporary shelter for the 6 remaining family members. Good news for folks living or farming along the Raccoon River. The latest readings show floodwaters are still receding. Here in Des Moines, floodwaters still cover Valley Drive just south of Waterworks Park, and it is still unclear whether the road will be open for Monday morning rush hour. The river is still above flood stage at Jefferson, but has fallen below flood stage at Van Meter.
A 1.5-mile section of Interstate 235 was shut down for a while this morning, forcing motorists to take a detour through an east side neighborhood. The east and westbound lanes were closed for several hours this morning to allow Iowa power crews to string a new high-voltage wire near East 17. Eastbound lanes from East 15th to Guthrie were closed, as were westbound lanes from Easton to East 14th. The freeway is open again now, and traffic flow is back to normal. The state budget and reapportionment, just a couple of the issues coming up this week for Iowa lawmakers to tackle. Governor Terry Branstad expected to issue his revised state budget plan on Monday. The plan includes a number of budget cuts. Reapportionment. 3 public hearings are planned this week to discuss the reapportionment plan. There will be one Wednesday here in Des Moines. State lawmakers will vote later on the plan. Also among the bills up for debate this week, year-round simulcasting of races at the Prairie Meadows racetrack, and a bill to allow rape victims' names to be kept confidential until a suspect is charged with the crime.
Well, looks like our brief respite from the rain is not going to last.
Gary has showers in the back-to-work forecast. That's coming up in just a minute. But first, a recap of the weekend's lotto drawings with estimated jackpots for Wednesday. We'll be back.
Tonight's forecast is brought to you by Marksman from Sandoz Crop Protection.
Finally, a break from the rain. It was just gorgeous outside. Unfortunately, we can't string 2 of them together. We've got more rain back in the forecast. Can you believe that?
Yeah, we sure do. By about Monday, but it should be for about the south one half of the state. And spotty showers, not one of those 24-hour ones like we had.
Like we had Thursday and Friday, right?
That was a tough old day to work our way through. Well, anyway, this is what's coming up on us. A jet stream and a weak disturbance just to the west of us right now. Actually, a pair of weak disturbances, and that's really going to help us out because that's the main focus of most of the energy now, and it should slide well to the south of Iowa. Therefore, only about the southern 1/2 counties really have to do any battling with the raindrops. Other than that, it's going to be clearing out by Monday night, and we're off to a nice middle of the work week, but there's more towards the end. Let's check on some numbers right now. Our own Dave Ogle was out right about dusk shooting some of the blossoms there. There's the principal tower just in the background. Fly up some numbers here. Clear skies right now and 50 degrees, but rain is looming right on our doorstep. Dew point temperature 30, humidity 46, nothing as far as winds go outside, and a barometer holding steady at 29.92. Well, let's say goodbye to the pretty blossoms and hello to some afternoon temperatures. 60 degrees here in Des Moines. It just felt lovely out there this afternoon, but actually we were shy of normal. That should be right around 64 degrees, but we'll take it. Upper 50s coming off that lousy last couple of weeks that we've had. Radar summary shows how close the rain is. Nebraska, Kansas, down into Missouri, slowly creeping our way. We have high pressure trying to hold on. It's just doing its best to hold those raindrops back, but they will sneak into the picture here about tomorrow morning for southwest Iowa. We could be getting into the rain by late morning here in Des Moines, but just spotty rain at that. Satellite shot showing basically 2 flows in the jet stream. That's the flow well to the north of us, and a southern branch taking this trek, and that's the main reason why that little storm should stay well to the south. Missouri and Arkansas looking to pick up some appreciable rains. At the 10 o'clock hour, that's how the rain sets up right now. You'll see the main energy goes well to the south. Some of the heavier rains could be confined to mainly Missouri, down and through Arkansas, and then along the Gulf Coast. We could catch the northern fringes of those rains here in Des Moines. And if you go into northern Iowa, they're not looking really at any rainfall whatsoever. Off to the west, though, high pressure starts to build. Should be a beautiful day out there. Again, the Midwest getting socked in with another go-around with the raindrops. Tonight, increasing clouds, 39, the overnight low. We have crystal clear skies right now, but toward morning, that will change. Light and variable winds, they're calm right now, so that forecast looks pretty good. Tomorrow, then, we shape it up this way. Partly sunny skies, 59 the top temp, south-southeasterly winds. Again, about the south 1/2 can expect the rainfall, and it should just be scattered at best. Mostly cloudy then on Monday night. An evening shower, perhaps, a low down to 40, but by Tuesday morning, we're looking pretty good again. And actually, for most of the work week, you can see the numbers setting up the way they are. Tuesday, Wednesday look gorgeous. You see a couple of ominous-looking lightning bolts on Thursday and Friday. Those will be scattered thunder showers, it looks to me right now at best. On Friday, though, looking forward to that temperature, 76, the afternoon high, another taste of summertime. And it can't get here too soon as far as I'm concerned.
I forgot to tell you, we're going to talk about supermoms tonight.
Oh, that's right.
Can you do that?
Yeah, we sure can. Supermoms, we want to see her. If you have a supermom, send her photograph and a little story about her telling us why she is so super to the address you see on your screen. Don't forget the zip, 50309. We want to see your super mom.
All right, thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary. Day 1 of the NFL draft is complete, and Hawkeye Nick Bell is headed west.
And an unbelievable finish helps the Pirates pull one out over the Cubs. Pat with the scores and highlights after this.
Almost as interesting and surprising in the NFL draft as to who was not picked as to who was.
Yeah, that's probably true. Iowa got 3
picks today in the first round and maybe a couple more tomorrow, so not too bad. It was a bizarre afternoon at the NFL Draft in New York City. It started with the news that Notre Dame star Rocket Ismail was not available. The Rocket lifted off for Canada. Late last night, Ismail agreed to play for the Toronto Argonauts of the Canadian Football League. The 4-year deal is said to be worth $26.2 million, so the Rocket was out of the picture.
The Dallas Cowboys have selected Russell Maryland, defensive tackle, University of Miami.
With Ismail gone, Dallas used the first pick in the draft to get Miami defensive tackle Russell Maryland. It started a trend for the day towards the defense. In fact, the first 6 players drafted were all on defense. Meanwhile, Iowa's Nick Bell was the biggest name left after the first round. The Hawkeye running back was not taken until midway through the second round by the Los Angeles Raiders. Bell was the 43rd player chosen overall. He could take over Bo Jackson's spot in the Raiders' backfield. Also taken this afternoon, UNI nose tackle James Jones. He was picked by Cleveland in the 3rd round, and in the 4th round, Iowa State defensive back Marcus Robertson. He was taken by Houston. We'll run down all the first-round picks a bit later on. In baseball, the Iowa Cubs made it a clean sweep in their weekend series with Nashville. With 2 outs in the first inning and a runner on second, Iowa's Russ McGinnis stepped up, popped it up to center field. Looked like a sure out, but Leo Garcia couldn't make the catch. He loses it in the sun. The ball drops, allowing Jeff Small to score 1-0. I-Cubs, they went on to beat Nashville 4-2. Cubs are now 7-3 and still lead the Western Division. Meanwhile, the big Cubs found themselves in extra innings again in Pittsburgh, and again, their relief pitching failed. Top of the 11th, bases loaded. Andre Dawson stepped up to the plate, and he promptly crushed his second grand slam of the weekend. It put Chicago ahead of the Pirates, 12-7. But Pittsburgh came back in the bottom of the 11th. They trailed by 1 when Don Slott ripped a bases-loaded double to deep center field. 2-run score to give the Pirates a come-from-behind victory, 13-12 in 11 innings. Heartbreak again for the Cubs. Elsewhere, the Braves got by the Reds 3-2. St. Louis edged Philadelphia in 10 innings. Los Angeles shut out San Diego 6-zip. San Francisco blanked Houston, and tonight New York leads Montreal in the bottom of the 9th. In the American League, after 3 tries, the White Sox finally won at the new Comiskey Park, but it wasn't easy. Detroit's Cecil Fielder tied the game up in the 8th with this 2-run shot. The Tigers later took a 4-3 lead, but the White Sox answered in the bottom of the 10th with the game tied at 4. Lance Johnson singled up the middle, and the winning run came home. Chicago switches to their black jerseys, and it works. 5-4, the final. Rain plagued several games on the East Coast. The Kansas City-New York game was postponed, as was the Boston-Cleveland game and the Texas-Baltimore game. Milwaukee did beat Toronto, though, in 10. Minnesota slipped past California 4-3, and the Mariners swept a 3-game series from the A's. Full slate of games on the final day of the NBA's regular season in Chicago. The Bulls played host to the defending champion Pistons. Detroit's Bill Laimbeer passes down low to Dennis Rodman with a no-look reverse. Pistons trailed, though, by 2. Later, the Bulls were on the move. Scottie Pippen will get it to, guess who, Michael Jordan. And then you know what he does. The Jam. Chicago wins it 108-100. Also on the final day, Atlanta beat Boston by 12. It was Minnesota 89, Washington 87. The Cavs down the Sixers. Golden State knocked off Utah 125-106. The Spurs pounded the Mavericks. Phoenix snapped Portland's 16-game winning streak. Orlando stopped New Jersey, and Houston down Denver by 6. The playoffs begin on Thursday. Well, in just a couple of minutes, Sports Sunday, but now, as promised, here are the first-round selections in today's NFL Draft. Welcome to Sports Sunday. We begin with hockey in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Game 3 between the Bruins and the Canadiens. Series tied at 1. Boston already up 1-0. They add 2, and Bob Sweeney shoots, stays with it, and scores the goal. 2-0 Bruins. They go on to win 3-2. So Boston now leads the best-of-7 series 2-1. And the Penguins take a 2-1 lead in their series with the Capitals after a 3-1 victory
tonight. In golf, Jack Nicklaus put on cruise control during today's final round of the PGA Seniors Championship. The Golden Bear had a commanding 8-stroke lead starting the day. He fired a 1 under par 70 this afternoon. Nicklaus finishes the tourney at minus 17. Bruce Crampton was a distant second, 6 shots back. Nicklaus wins the PGA Seniors Championship for the first time in his brief seniors career. Well, with the Drake Relays later this week, it's time to focus in on the Bankers Trust Drake Relays 10K. Once again this year, several of the world's best road racers will be running, but last year's champion Ashley Johnson will not run because of an injury.
He wasn't going to be running 100%. He figured he could run in the 29, low 29s, but didn't feel it was going to be worth it, especially if he was going to get pressed, and sometimes with the downhill could get further injured.
Last year's women's champion Jan Klecker does plan on running. Both the men's and women's field should be very competitive again. And, of course, you can see same-day coverage of that race here on TV 13. Rick Silvestrini, Frank Shorter, and I will be out there bright and early Saturday, and we'll bring it to you about 4 o'clock on Saturday, I think. Hopefully we can keep the rains away.
Yeah, let's hope so, Gary.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Pat. Here's a look at what's ahead this week from your 24-hour news source. John Bachman's News Center 13 special, Reagan Remembers, begins Wednesday, April 24th on News Center 13 at 10 o'clock. John talked one-on-one with the former president. That's Reagan Remembers, April 24th through the 26th. And later in the week, we'll bring you Drake Relays 1991 as athletes from all over the country are in Des Moines to compete. That and more all this week from your 24-hour news source.
We'll worry about that forecast when we get to it. Let's worry about tomorrow morning right now.
Yeah, we have enough trouble going out for 24 hours, let alone as long as that. Anyway, when you wake up tomorrow, look for partly cloudy skies, 39 degrees, but scattered showers perhaps by late morning.
Thanks, Gary. If you've ever wondered how fast police cars are when compared to other cars, we have the answer for you tonight. The Sports Car Club of America holds autocross races in parking lots all over Des Moines. Today, this police car put its pedal to the metal to see how it measures up with other cars on the street. The result, not a bad show. It took the squad car 65.9 seconds to run this 2/3 of a mile track. Compare that to the Mazda Miata, which scored 58 seconds, or Toyota, which pulled an even minute for the course. Somehow, I think they probably go a little bit faster.
I think they do. When they chase people, I think they go a little faster than that.
Thanks for joining us. Station will be here tomorrow at 6:30 for Today in Iowa. We'll see you next weekend.
See you tomorrow morning.